So insulation, just wanted to touch on this when it comes to your building design, and often building insulation is often associated with the waterproof membrane, and is therefore important to consider. There are some retrofits of an existing rooftop that you may want to offer a client where they can, if they don't have insulation up there already, they could put more insulation on their roof, or there's existing insulation that's up there, and that you have to deal with that somehow during your Ecoroof design. There's kind of three options when it comes to insulation placement. There's just your standard, what I have in my house is up underneath the ceiling, underneath the drywall, but below what I have a wood deck or wood sheathing on my roof. Then the second one is where you might put the insulation above on the wood deck and then the membrane on top of that. So it's still a dry, warm, I guess they call this a warm deck design. And then one that we have here on the Portland building is the inverted roof, or where you put the membrane directly on the deck, then you'll put insulation on top of that, and then you can place your Ecoroof on that as well. What's good about these is just, this is an FYI for you guys, so when you're talking about your Ecoroof design and somebody brings up insulation, you can go, oh, well, what's the scenario? Do we have it below or above? And because you can put an Ecoroof on any three of these options that we have, it doesn't preclude any of them. There just might be a little bit more design that you might have to look at. And one of the things that we do notice is that insulation that might be existing on a roof, if you put it above it, it's oftentimes when there's a roof replacement that it's damaged during re-roofing. So we're always interested is, can we recycle all that insulation that's going to come off of that roof, or do we just toss it in the landfill? So I think it's a question that, could you take it off and reapply it? Could you put a new membrane just right on top of the existing insulation? So when it comes to the sustainability of this design, of your Ecoroof design, it's just good to maybe ask this question and just say, hey, could we just recycle that stuff, or are you going to take it someplace, or are we going to, knowing that you're going to maybe put new insulation on a building, do we have plans for how this might be recycled when we do a re-roofing in 40 to 60 years? So I think those are just good questions to be asking. Yeah.
Can you talk about the possibility of putting this new membrane over your existing roof?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to, I'm thinking there may be moisture issues there, but you didn't cover, if you put this new membrane on over your old roof to prevent tear-off and landfill all that, if you put, is there an insulation available you can put in between your existing roof and that new membrane without having moisture problems?
I'm not a roofer,
okay.
So I'd love to answer the question, but I think
that saves you from the tear-off expense, the disposal expense.
Yeah, it'd be a good question to ask. Yeah.
I think, and it goes back to, we're trying to give you information so that you think of those questions. Yeah. If we have an answer, we'll try and give it to you, but if we don't, it's a good question, and as you're looking at a project, you'd want to ask those questions. What if we left it? Do I have an issue with moisture and various other things?
Yeah,
and stuff like that. So that's good.
Maybe somebody else can ask a question.
Right. Because I think what it is there's a lot of, and I mean, we're all guilty of this, there's a lot of just standard operating procedure. Hey, oh yeah, we're just going to take that thing off and we're going to put it back on again. That's what we do. And you just want to ask questions and say, well, do we have to? What can we do about insulation? And even I think with the option of adding more insulation to a building owner, I think is interesting. They might not realize that, oh yeah, if we go up there and we're going to do this whole Ecoroof, we can have the opportunity to put down, with the same mobilization costs and all those things, we can go and put down more insulation up there as we put on this Ecoroof. So, yeah, so it's just good that you're asking these questions, because that's what our goal has been.
Are you going to get into more of the system, like for instance, putting the insulation above the waterproof membrane? Are you going to talk about those particular systems? Because I'm wondering what kind of insulation you use to do that.
Oh, we're not going to talk about the particular insulation that's used. We have an example of this building as we get into membranes and root barriers and those kinds of things. So we'll have photos of how that's laid out. But as for the specifics, we aren't going to be giving those out, I guess, as to you mean, are you talking about like the type or the R value or the?
I'm just interested in the system of, you know, do you put the soil right on the insulation? But if you're going to give the example of this building, then that's what I'm.
And this will be, you know, it should be noted, the examples that we have, just in the research I've been doing recently about what are the products that are out there and all the systems. I mean, everybody has a way of doing it differently. And I mean, it is amazing how many different layered and drainage mat and double drainage mat and root barriers and all these things are all in these different layers, and there's no real kind of, there's no real consistency, a way to go, okay, I can categorize this as this kind and I can categorize this as this. There's just so many variables that I think if you had an idea of to what you wanted, you could probably find it, a way to do it. So that's insulation. And then the other thing that you need to consider, we'll get into irrigation and plant material next week,